Hunter Biden's Malibu home burned to the ground. And we're never happy when homes burn to the ground. And we're not happy that there's a fire that's wrecking of people's lives out there. And we're very sympathetic for them. But one person we're not immediately sympathetic for is Hunter, because he's been pardoned by his daddy and he's escaped any culpability for anything. But you can't escape a fire when it's burning your whole city down after decades of Democrat incompetence. So it is now hitting him. Now, what's so curious about this thing is I'm sure he's pretty happy that his home is now burned to the ground, because there's probably a lot of evidence in there that nobody's going to be able to go recapture. And anytime he gets a request or a subpoena moving forward or whatever to come speak or deliver these documents and anything, he's just going to turn around and say, house fire. Oh no, burned down in Malibu. It's all gone. Oh, really? Burned to the ground. And so I'm curious if other homes around him burned to the ground, or if he was out there with lighter fluid, just burning out his degeneracy and debauchery and the STDs and his paintings. What happened to his COVID mucus paintings? Did those get torched? The 3-bed, 3-bath home had a panoramic sea view, $15,000, $800 a month in rental income. Golly. Exclusive Daily Mail photos show what's left of the property, torched and smoldering. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1950s home. Earlier in the day, Biden told a news conference, he says, I'm not sure if my son's property burned down. He said, it's astounding what's happening. The 82-year-old president said, my son lives out here with his wife. They got a notification yesterday their home probably burned to the ground, but today it appears it's still standing. No, now it's not standing anymore. $4 million home that Hunter shares with his wife, Melissa, is one of over 1,000 and counting houses flattened by the wildfire. 4 wildfires. Gone is the property. A charred mass of crumbled masonry. Here's Hunter's home. Fireplaces are still standing in a very twisted sense of humor. Fireplaces are still good. I don't know where his crack rooms were, but those don't look like they're standing. You can see this was what the property looked like. Beautiful place. And I don't like to see anything destroyed. You can see here the luxury rental once boasted a gourmet kitchen, a guest studio with a private balcony. The studio was used by Hunter for his COVID paintings, where he used to fund his lifestyle. Although any style there, if any of his paintings were still there, they're probably gone. And those were the paintings that he was selling for $500,000. Also destroyed in the blaze was the neighboring home that his Secret Service had. Oh, they torched their house too. An eye-watering, they were there for $16,000 a month. That's all smoldering and gone too. The house is one of several Malibu rentals that he's occupied. The Spanish-style pad cost him 20 G's a month, and his security was living next door at 30 G's a month. Despite losing his home in the wildfires and all the evidence of his criminality, the 2025 started on a positive note because he got a blanket pardon for everything he's ever did, including those hookers that he may or may not have killed. No one will know. That has put paid to a succession of long-running legal woes. Hunter pled guilty to tax offenses, and then they pardoned him for those things. So there's the home, man. It's terrible when stuff just gets destroyed. Beautiful properties, right? A lot of humanity goes into building these things. And it was Hunter renting it, so it's not like it's even his property, right? Somebody else owns it, so they're screwed. So not good. But following the pardon from his dad, he remains a free man. His first home was in Southern California, 12 G's a month. He then moved into a $4.2 million home, and he had his attorney sugar daddy. At the time, the imposing 3-story property was owned by Sweetgreen CEO John Neiman. They said they were totally disrespectful of Jonathan and his wife. Melissa was rude and entitled, Hunter's wife. They destroyed the stereo equipment in the home, and when someone came to fix it, they were uncooperative. They left the place a disaster, probably crack everywhere. The former owner allegedly could only shift the property after cleaning up the Biden's mess and was left out of pocket when Hunter shorted him more than 3 months' rent. Melissa and Bo also then moved to Malibu next year, so there's Hunter's property, and then the Secret Service are just one house back. And so they all got torched. It's terrible what's happening there. Now, if you want to see some horrific footage, we've got it. Here was Anderson Cooper, who made a trip out there, and he's like, I should probably go out there so people think I'm a real reporter, right? And they're like, yeah, it's a good idea. Just go out there and just pretend it. And he's okay, perfect. Thanks. I'll go do that. Maybe that'll help our ratings. Let's see. So they sent him out there, and here's what it looks like. Smoldering everywhere, is burning. And then they go to Gavin Newsom, who is blaming the local folks and blaming everyone else except himself.
Look, all these houses are gone here. There's a fire crew here. I was talking to the captain earlier. They ran out of water here on this street about 30 minutes ago. They hooked up the hydrants. They turned them on. The water ran out. So now they're just moving on to another area. What they did when they don't have water is they try to create defensive perimeters around houses that they think they can save. And those houses are houses that don't have a lot of bushes, hedges, plantings in front of them or around them. Just look. Oh.
And as much as I want to rip on Anderson for being a fake journalist, which is what he is, he just reads stuff and goes out there and does stuff like this. It looks bad, right? You wouldn't want to be standing there. That looks like there is smoldering and smoke everywhere and you're inhaling a bunch of stuff. It's not good. So he is in the thick of it, reporting, showing us what the thick of it looks like. And it's bad, right? And he's standing right there in it, presumably. Maybe because remember that other photo when he was like standing in the hurricane and like he was just standing in a puddle? So who knows? So anyways, he was having a conversation with Gavin Newsom, and you can see Newsom is responding to this problem of not having any water. And there's been a water concern in California for ages. And you go back and read the history on it, right? They passed $7 billion to create more reservoirs. So when they got surpluses of water, then they didn't have to let it just run off into the ocean and disappear into nothingness, so that they might be able to create a defense in the event that there is a fire. Here's what Newsom said. It's not my problem. It's everybody else's problem.
What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter on this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. Just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system. And those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale. But again, that's going to be determined by the local.
Look at that backdrop, man. That's sheer, brutal. That house is just burning to the ground. I mean, smoke everywhere, and that's Gavin Newsom. He's like, that's not atypical from other major serious fires out there. What? Your whole street is on fire, dude. It's shocking, actually, that he'll probably be reelected. Californians are nuts. So here was another conversation. So Trump came out and absolutely ripped him. And people have been digging up Trump and how right he's been on a lot of this. He's talked about it multiple times, about how you should wet and dampen the soil and how they should create more reserves and bunch of stuff, scolding the forestry for not clearing out the forests and all sorts of, and people, Trump is attacking California. He's attacking their incompetence that's going to lead to a disaster. It's useful for him to do that. Now he's been proven right again. So now here's Newsom basically on the verge of tears, crying, I can't believe Trump's politicizing this. He's calling out the problem because this whole city is on fire. And the people who were so incompetent to allow this to happen, and they keep saying climate change and stuff like that. What, climate change creates spontaneous fires that explode in multiple locations around the city simultaneously? Okay. How come that's not happening in other locations? Or I don't even know what they're trying to do to defer their blame from their own total incompetence. But here's Newsom.
We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to...
Why do you hate to ask it, Anderson? Because you love Gavin. You love him, don't you?
Attack you, blame you for this.
So one can't even respond to it. It's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids.
You can hear the burning embers in the audio. If you have headphones in, you can hear it. It sounds like a fire in your fireplace.
Have lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down.
That's why we're upset.
This guy wanted to...
There were senior citizens in their wheelchairs being carted down the highway, evacuating.
Politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
Yeah, he was talking about his grandkid or great-grandkid or whatever. And no one even cares in the whole room, including you, Gavin, we saw the video, you're standing there in almost awe that he would bring up something so insensitive at a time like this. So Gavin Newsom is doing the pound the table, as we talk about here. Pound the facts, pound the law, pound the table. I'm exasperated. I can't even believe he would talk about something like that. This is crazy. Now, meanwhile, here is a new fire that just exploded in the Hollywood Hills. This happened last night. I don't know what the containment level is of this one or any of the others. There are so many of them. I don't even think they know what the containment is. Although I do have this excerpt where they're talking about it being 0% contained. So here is what it looked like when this popped out last night.
They're getting water on the fire, but there are embers blowing uphill, and now a new fire. Go ahead, over to the left. There's another structure catching on fire near the top of this hill. This is directly up from Veneta and Sunswept Drive. You can see the fire in that patio starting on the left-hand side of your screen. Some brush in the middle. There's another house that hasn't been touched yet, but there are two, I think that's two houses that are now on fire. Involved, LA City Fire just getting on scene, getting water on the fire. I wonder if we are going to see them drop some water over here, but this is a completely separate part of town. We are in the San Fernando Valley on the Studio City side, right at the edge of Studio City and Sherman Oaks, I would say. And this fire is going really good. I almost wonder how long this has been going on. There comes the water drop. They are now dropping water. We were on our way back to Van Nuys Airport to refuel from the Palisades fire when we caught wind of this one here, which is really rip-roaring at a pretty steady pace and flying up that hillside with those embers already starting secondary fires.
And it's just crazy. You can see the scale of this. You see this guy with this little hose down here, right here. Probably not a little hose, probably full firefighter hose, full firefighter team, and it looks just like a little squirt gun. Can you please go? It's the scale is just, it's hard to even fathom how much is on fire and how big these fires are. We're asking, what can people do about this when there are no fire hydrants that are working? And what's interesting that's happening here is some people seemingly are covering for the incompetent. So you have these news agencies like this who say, there is water, okay? We are competent here. Gavin Newsom is right. We're doing a great job. So stop politicizing this and just continue to vote Democrat no matter what. Even if your head is on fire, that's okay. Third-degree burns are worth it. Don't you care about democracy? Trust the science. We'll graft some skin back on your body as soon as you're done voting for Hillary Clinton again. Here is an immediate fact check on their own network. And this is a Fox report. Here's what this sounded like.
Former LA mayoral candidate and real estate developer Rick Caruso criticizing the city's response to the windstorm and fires. He says officials should have been more prepared.
The real issue to me is twofold. We've had decades to go remove the brush in these hills that spreads so quickly. And the second is, you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. This isn't high science here. And it's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
Despite what you have heard from Caruso, no firefighters have told us that they are running out of water.
Okay, here we go.
And let's go out to Gigi Graciette. She is live in Pacific Palisades. I know your signal's not the best, but Gigi, what can you tell us?
Firefighters have told me they have no water on this block, and you may be able to make out the ember storm that we're in the middle of right now. This house is going to be a total loss. They have no water to put on this fire. They are standing by because they're trying to save the home that is next to it.
Okay, so literally within 30 seconds, no one's told us that they're running out of water. Gavin Newsom delivered the water right to their mouths and to their hoses. There's no water out here where I'm standing here, Chuck. I've never seen any water. It's not raining or anything. They can't put this fire out. Simultaneous. It's total bedlam, right? There's madness everywhere. You can't even trust the news and determine what they are reporting and whether or not it is true. Now, here's some drone footage of the aftermath of this thing, right? Just to show you the scale of this. Absolutely horrific. Those are homes and businesses and good people who are now going to have to go through a rebuilding process, an insurance claims process. repurchase all. It's devastating, and it hurts a lot of people. And you can just see we're just getting started. This is in California. This is in one of the wealthiest places in the whole world. We sit around, oh, this will never happen to us or never happen here. And if we continue to allow our country to be mismanaged into the garbage, then I think we're going to get more of this, unfortunately. And you can see this is just, I think, a canary in the coal mine. Fortunately, we are not turning into California. We were on that path to turn into California, but we've got, I think, a wake-up call landing at our doorstep. And so it's so soon to draw political messages out of this. And it breaks my heart when stuff that has been built gets destroyed in a way that's so seemingly needless. But I do hope we draw some lessons from this, and because it's happened in Maui. It's now happening in California. The economic damage of this is catastrophic. And it's like many people would just say, just shut up, stop criticizing us. This is an economic or this is a natural disaster that we had no responsibility in. And it's like, how do cities just burn to the ground? Entire swaths from multiple fires, and there's no water in the fire hydrants. It's pretty bad. All right, so you can see it's hard to even talk about how much damage there is. So they bring this guy out, and here's his update. This was published late yesterday. Here's a little bit of what this sounded like.
I'd like to give you a current sit stat on our Eaton fire. We can confirm that the Eaton fire is now over 10,600 acres at 0% containment.
0%.
I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't highlight some of the heroic actions last night by your public safety, police, and fire, who literally saved lives, pulling people out from burning buildings, getting them out of streets and vehicles where they had no ways to evacuate. Our death count today would be significantly higher without their heroic actions. We currently have 60 strike teams requested and 750 firefighters working on this incident.
All right, 0% contained, and they're working hard to stop it from getting worse, and I'm glad they're saving lives. James Woods was talking about it. Here's a photo that he posted. Look at this. That's not a sunset. That is a smoldering fire burning. Not a smoldering. That is a roaring, raging fire that is burning. In the immortal words of Stephen Crane, which I roughly remember from my youth, in which I paraphrase, the sun was pasted in the sky like a wafer, from James Woods. And my understanding is he's lost his property, and he's going through the aftermath of that. Now, we saw this in our after party on Locals, but we'll play this again for good measure. Here is what the LA mayor was asked as she came back into town from her trip to Ghana, when she was asked by Sky News reporters if she could answer any questions about this tragedy happening in her city.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Probably not. Okay, go to the other exit. Sorry, come over here.
Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
She's let me out.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
So she runs away, doesn't want to answer any questions at all. And then when she does do her little press briefing, she is so incompetent that this is what she sounds like. So she reads from this little statement because that's all she can do. As you could see, she can't speak extemporaneously when asked questions. Needs somebody else to tell her what to say. So she comes out and reads it. Unfortunately, she says that all of this can be found, and then somebody forgot to put in the URL, the link to the website. Somebody forgot to put in go to competent.com. All of this information can be found at We're Morons, California. Come check it out. All of this can be found at this URL is what she says, because she doesn't probably even know what a URL is, and just says, just what a URL is. Here's what it is.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles,
Perfect.
together is how we will get through this.
URL.
Through the heroics of our firefighters, the vigilance. Right now, if you need help, emergency.
Karen Bass, get your government aid at the one-stop shop. URL. We'll take care of everything you need. Oh my gosh. All right. So people are like, oh, great. How do I get there? It's not good. Not good. All right. So here is a little bit of James Woods. Here's what he was saying when he was on with Laura Ingraham. Just a little taste. He was on for quite a while.
It's astonishing that what happened during this experience was that we found out that none of us is a celebrity. None of us is a poor person or a rich person, a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah, white.
We're just neighbors, just really helping each other. That one video was my neighbor who, after we had evacuated, before he evacuated, ran down to my house to try to stop that fire coming over my deck because he saw it from his deck. Amazing. A fellow named Robert Trinkteller. Was as devastating as it was, an extraordinary experience of realizing how essential good neighbors, good friends, good relatives. I've had people call me. I did a movie with Walter Goggins, a wonderful actor, years ago. I talked to him once or twice. I just got a call, a long text from him. Here's my address. The keys are in the car. I'm out of town. Use our house. Here's all the codes. People offering us their homes and so on. And that's my beautiful home there, was my beautiful home. So all I know now from him, he stayed overnight, which he shouldn't have done, but he did, fighting the fire. There was no water pressure, of course. All the fire hydrants were dead, as we now know. The fire trucks are there, but they couldn't pump water, as it turned out. He fought the fire himself of his house with a bucket in the pool. And this morning texted me and said, look, I had 3 hours sleep. I just got up. The houses on either side of you have burned down. Every house across the street from you is burned down, but I can see your roof. Now, I have a wooden house with wooden beams. If you can see my roof, it may be gutted. It may be, we don't know. And all we know is that at midnight, when the trucks were there, all the fire alarms are going off in our house remotely to our phones. Sarah and I were both getting hallway monitors on, bedroom monitors on. It was as if you could track the fire as it was going through your house, but it could have been the smoke from the houses next door. I don't know. So it's possible. I don't think it's very likely, but it's possible our one house is standing, even though all our wonderful neighbors and every one of them is a friend and been wonderful to us and us, I hope, to them.
James, yeah,
It's
James,
a little paradise in the hills.
Your comments about neighbors at being critical,
Yeah, it's amazing. So there's, in these disasters and in these tragedies, it's amazing that people really will rise up to the occasion and the humanity will really come out of people and people will care and love for each other and support each other through it. And there is a beautiful side to that. And it's not, worth the tragedy and the death, but there's a different side of humanity. You could see it, man, in James's face. It's like emotional. Man, we're sorry that he's going through it and he's not alone, right? He's got a million other people who are going through it. And we pray for all of them. So it's a devastating thing that's happening there. Now, simultaneously with that, we've got ABC News. This guy's out there reporting. He's getting dunked on because he didn't like how this fireman's jacket looked on him. Made him look a little chunky around the midsection. We have a tailor here who can come and tailor this. I'm David Moyer. Is there a tailor who can come and tighten this up for me? No, there's no tailor. The whole city's burning down. What can we do about this? Get some clothespins. All right, perfect. Tighten it up so he looks good. And listen, I'm a big fan of the schmediums. Obviously, you want to look nice and tight on the camera. But it's just interesting that that's such a high priority when he's out there reporting from the scene. But it does look better as tailored in a little bit there. No question about that. It does look a little bit better. He deserves to be dunked on for that one. So that is happening. Here's a before and after just to show you how horrible this is. Somebody went around on Google Maps and was doing a screen
this
report.
Is where it's got to be.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What? I've never, look at this. Beyond comprehension.
Everything's just gone. So terrible news. And that is what's happening in California. So Hunter's home burned to the ground. and many others have. We'll continue to pray for our friends in California, and we'll hope that this doesn't happen anywhere else in this country.